Young boy's care package for a stranger ended up changing his life years later. In 2000, a little boy in Idaho named Tyrel Wolfe took part in a gift drive for underprivileged children around the world. He was excited to participate but had no idea that many years later the seemingly small act would end up changing his life forever. This is a true and touching story about the massive ripple effect that kindness can have on our world. It might just change the way you think about charity and the act of helping others. 7-year-old Tyrel "Ty" Wolfe was growing up in Idaho in 2000. In December, young Ty decided to participate in a program called Operation Christmas Child. This charitable program is organized by a humanitarian aid organization called Samaritan's Purse, and it delivers gift-filled shoeboxes to less fortunate children all around the world every year. Ty was excited to be a part of Operation Christmas Child and got to work selecting which gifts to include. Little Ty thought hard about what he would put into the shoebox that would end up being mailed to a child in some faraway foreign country. It was a big decision for the 7-year-old to make. Samaritan's Purse lets participants decide what types of things they want to pack in these special Christmas packages. The presents can include everything from toys to school supplies and even hygiene items, whatever the sender feels like including. Samaritan's Purse gives people some flexibility in the gifts they send through Operation Christmas Child, but there is one requirement. Every participant has to include a photo of themselves or the recipient so the child could see who had sent their present. Ty carefully packed up his shoebox for its unknown recipient. Finally, he slipped in a photo of himself. He then handed the shoebox to his aunt, who brought it to church and dropped it off. And that was that. Or was it? Although Ty had no idea where his specially packed shoebox was going, he was thrilled to be a part of Operation Christmas Child that year. After all, the season is all about giving and helping others, and that's exactly what he got to do. He hoped that his present got to its destination safely and was proud that he might be bringing a less fortunate child some happiness and comfort at Christmas time. And then Ty went on with his life. Time passed as it tends to do, and Ty grew up. He had a happy life in small-town Idaho, and he was pretty close to his family and friends. Then, one ordinary day, he received a strange Facebook request that he decided to ignore. He didn't recognize the person's name, Joanna Marchin, and he had never visited the Philippines, which is where she lived. By then 18 years old, the request didn't weigh much on his mind after he deleted it. He had no way to know then, but the person who sent that fateful friend request was going to change his life forever. Eventually, Ty forgot all about the Facebook incident, and then deja vu struck. A couple years later, he received another friend request. The sender, Joanna Marchin again. Ty was curious now as the memory of the first request came back. He decided to take it a little more seriously this time around. Could he know this person? Was she a friend of someone he knew? Although he couldn't figure out a connection with his Joanna Marchin, Ty accepted the request. When Ty received Joanna's second friend request in 2011, he determined that they had no mutual friends and had never even visited each other's countries. Now he really wanted to find out how she thought she knew him. After opening the request and clicking confirm, he wrote a message and asked her flat out what their connection was. It was a pretty normal thing to ask a complete stranger who had sent 2 friend requests. She replied with a question. At first, Ty was confused by Joanna's reply to his message. Her response was just a simple question. You know about the Samaritan's Purse? And he didn't understand at first. After all, it had been 11 years since he'd participated in Operation Christmas Child, and he hadn't thought of it much over that time. Joanna's question brought everything back in a rush though. He was totally stunned. Was this the person that his shoebox had been delivered to? When he mailed that Operation Christmas Child package off as a 7-year-old, Ty had no idea where it was headed. He had no way to know that the shoebox made its way 7,000 miles to the other side of the planet to reach a little girl named Joanna. She was at vacation Bible school in Manila when she received the package. Touched by the gift, Joanna wrote a thank you note. It never reached him. For 11 years, she thought about Ty and how she could ever reach him. When Joanna had received her Operation Christmas Child box in 2000, she was incredibly touched. A complete stranger thousands of miles away had gone out of his way to give her a special holiday gift, and she wanted to thank him. Even though the letter she mailed never reached Ty, she didn't give up on finding him. She kept his information and kept searching. It turns out that there are a lot of people with the name Tyrel Wolfe, so Joanna chose one of them on Facebook and sent a friend request. Not only did she find the right Tyrel Wolfe, but she was also about to change both of their lives forever. Ty's family wasn't sure they believed Joanna's story. After all, internet scams are incredibly common and they'd hate to see the young man fall victim to a con. The people closest to Ty warned him that Joanna might not be who she claimed to be and encouraged him to find out for sure whether she was someone to be trusted. Fortunately, he had a way to do this. Ty asked Joanna what had been in her Christmas package that year so long ago. Would she know the answer? When Ty asked Joanna about the contents of his gift box, she wasn't able to remember any specifics. This wasn't looking good, he thought, and started to prepare himself to cut contact off with his stranger on Facebook. And then Joanna included the one detail that proved exactly who he was. The last thing Ty had put into the shoebox was a photo of himself. Joanna told him about him now and was able to describe everything about it. She even called him a cute cowboy because of the outfit he was wearing. She was the real deal and Ty couldn't believe what was happening. Ty was so relieved. Without question, Joanna was exactly who she said she was, and he wanted to get to know her better. The feeling was mutual too. The two newly connected friends started chatting on a daily basis and found out that they had lots in common. For starters, they were both students and both enjoyed listening to and playing music. As they discovered more shared interests, their chats bloomed into a sweet friendship. Ty wanted to take things to the next level. Ty and Joanna's story was just beginning. Over the next year, they continued to chat and their relationship developed from friendship to something more. They wanted to see each other in person. Ty saved money from his job with the state parks in order to pay for a visit to see Joanna in her hometown of Manila. Finally, in May 2013, he had enough to cover the cost of a plane ticket to the Philippines. He had a 10-day visit planned. As soon as he'd raised enough money, Ty messaged Joanna and booked his flight to see her in the Philippines. As excited as he was, there was still some uncertainty. "I knew I was taking a big risk," he later told People. "I'd never traveled alone, let alone to a foreign country before, and I was meeting people I didn't know or even knew really existed." Despite any misgivings, he made the 7,000-mile journey to meet Joanna. Any hesitation that had been present disappeared the moment that Ty and Joanna finally met in person. "Once I saw his face, an amazing feeling came over me. I was so happy I cried," Joanna said. Her family welcomed the young man into their home. Ty felt the same, recalling, "When I finally got there and saw her, I had to pinch myself a couple times because I thought it was a dream." It seemed that they were meant to be together. Ty's 10-day trip to see Joanna flew by in a flash. Before he knew it, it was time for him to be heading back to Idaho. He did not want to leave her side. The lovebirds knew they were meant to be together, they just needed to figure out how to make that happen. Ty put in extra hours at work to purchase his next plane ticket to Manila. This time he would stay for an entire month. Just in time to spend the holidays together, Ty returned to Joanna in the Philippines. This time his visit would last for an entire month, and he made the most of it. While in Manila, Ty asked for Joanna's father's permission to propose to his daughter. He received the blessing, but there was an unexpected roadblock in the way. Ty's mother, Roselle. She felt that the couple was too young to get married and that they should wait. It would take a lot to stand in the way of Ty and Joanna's relationship, though. Ty convinced his father, Ivan, to travel to the Philippines to meet Joanna and the Marchand family. Ivan finally agreed and embarked on a 10-day trip in May of 2014. He was welcomed into Joanna's family just as Ty had been. Joanna's mother told Ivan, "You are a sign from God that we are allowing Tyrel and Joanna to marry. If you hadn't come, we wouldn't have let the relationship continue." It was on. The two were now free to get married. But first, there were some big decisions to make. Now that the couple had both their families' blessing to start a life together as husband and wife, they had some very important decisions to make. The most important was where to live. After all, a long-distance marriage was not what they were looking for. Ty had a very good job, one that would be difficult to give up. He was even able to send money to Joanna's family back home each month. So the lovebirds decided that they'd make their home together in the United States. To prepare for their new life together in the US, Joanna received a visa from the embassy in Manila in August 2014. By September, she and Ty had left the Philippines and were on their way to their new home in Idaho. They opted to stay close to Ty's family and moved into a house about a quarter-mile away from his parents. Now it was time to finally tie the knot. Next, the wedding day arrives. After an international journey and months of being separated, Tyrel Wolfe and Joanna Marchand finally got married on October 5, 2014. The gorgeous wedding was held outdoors at Ty's parents' ranch. Unfortunately, Joanna's parents were unable to get visas in time, so they couldn't attend the wedding in person. But Ty made sure to honor them in their country by wearing a traditional Filipino garment, known as a barong, for the marriage ceremony. The couple had a very specific request for their guests. In a touching tribute to the way that they had met, Ty and Joanna asked that each wedding guest bring a shoebox full of gifts. Of course, the special packages would be donated to Samaritan's Purse. Guests were also asked to include a short letter about Ty and Joanna's love story in their boxes. They wanted to give children an example of how far a small act of kindness can go. The newlyweds also included Samaritan's Purse in a new annual tradition. Beginning their very first year of married life, Ty and Joanna started a holiday tradition that honors their past and helps others. Each holiday season, they prepare shoeboxes for Operation Christmas Child in order to spread some joy and kindness to children around the world. They also include a note sharing their unique love story. "We both feel so blessed and grateful that Operation Christmas Child brought us together," said Ty. And it wasn't long before their family grew. After 3 happy years of marriage, Joanna had started getting used to living in America. She'd even traveled to 8 different states in that time. She and Ty now had another big adjustment to make. They were going to have a baby. Ty announced the pregnancy on Facebook, followed by this exciting update a few months later. "Folks, he has arrived yesterday at 5 p.m. Welcome baby Harlan John Wolfe. It was a beautiful baby boy." So much has changed for Ty and Joanna since the young boy mailed a shoebox with his photo in it as part of Operation Christmas Child. Today, the couple is together because of that sweet act of generosity and even has a child together. Joanna recently posted an update to Facebook. "3 years down and our love has grown with a precious boy. Happy anniversary, Ty. Thank you for doing this life with me as we figure out just how much the better and for better or worse really is when we're in it together. I love you more than I can put into words." They're always grateful for the way they got together. Ty and Joanna's incredible tale is an example of just how far one small act of kindness can go. When 7-year-old Tyrel Wolfe mailed a Christmas package to another child in 2000, there's no way he could have known that his generosity would not just help the child, but himself. "I just didn't know the joy it would bring back to me one day," he said. Now their love story has gone viral and inspires people around the world to perform their own acts of kindness. What an inspiration for us all to look out for one another and to treat each other with goodwill and respect.